This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tank Girl, Miriam Joire.
Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joire, and today is Wednesday, December 20th, 2017. My guest is John Velasco. Hi, John. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Miriam? Thanks for having me.
It's going to be great. Remind everybody who you write for. I think it's Phone Arena, correct?
Yes. Phone Arena. I've been there. Well, this is my 9th year in the industry. I've been there for 8 years. I took a 1-year stint over at Android Authority, but I've been with the team for quite a while.
You're like a seasoned veteran, like all the people we know. This is why I have you on, because today is an exciting day. Today is Best Phone of 2017 Day.
Oh, this is going to be awesome.
You know, I figured the second to last podcast of the year, I would have that because people probably want to know at the last second before they buy a phone for Christmas, probably, right?
Yep,
because, like they have 3 days left or whatever it is now. So, we talked a bit about this with David last week, but it was more to let him pimp Android Authority's Best of Android 2017. Mm-hmm. So, it was kind of a precursor. I think I warmed up the audience for us here, so we're good. Without further ado, let's start with the big hitter. What's your best phone of 2017?
Oh, that is, it's so tough because, you look at what we saw at the beginning of the year and then towards the end. And for me, I think it's going to have to be the LG V30.
Okay.
Yeah, it's LG did an amazing job this year. You look at the G6 where they started compared to like the contrast they had with last year with the G5. We saw how that was, the reception around that. But the V30 for me, I think, is just the no BS phone. It's no BS whatsoever. So you have everything you want in a phone. You even have a headphone jack, which is, to me, still pretty important.
It's not just any headphone jack.
Yeah.
It's the best headphone jack in the industry to date, bar none.
Exactly. And that's what I'm using right now to record one of the audio files here. So, to me, it's the entire package. You have what? You have a phone that has a beautiful looking design. You have a water resistant construction. You have wireless charging. Like I said, the headphone jack, great camera, video centric. And to me, it's just like it might be also the most underrated phone, I'd say.
So I would agree that if there was an award for the most underrated phone of 2017, the most surprisingly awesome phone of 2017 that nobody really knows is surprisingly awesome, the V30 wins. And, it's in my top 3. So there you go.
Nice.
But I think for me, what really did for the V30 is obviously camera and photography, video, but also the audio for me was like those are the two things that really stood out. I still think that it is a sexy phone on its own, even if it didn't have the audio and the camera quite as good as it was. I think people are underestimating. It's kind of almost a perfect size phone to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's between the Galaxy S8 and the S8 Plus in terms of size. It's still extremely bezel-less. And, the display is fine. It's not the best, but it's definitely good. Especially it's very well calibrated, which is really surprising to me because we know this display is also used in another phone and had a lot more calibration issues, right? But I think Pixel XL Pixel 2 XL, cough. Anyway, but I think for me, the V30, it's the story of LG. It culminates years of LG know-how, and at the same time, years of people not understanding and realizing that LG is really one of the biggest and most significant players in the market, yet never gets the recognition for it.
Exactly, because it's always in the shadow of Samsung's
Correct.
glories. And, it's the first time this year, I think, they made a pretty strong resurgence, like compared to last year with the G5 and how that was perceived versus now how they improved with the G6 and then subsequently here with the V30. To me, it is probably their best year ever.
I think it is absolutely their best year ever. And I think that, I hope they can top it somehow because you remember the the 4 was such an amazing phone.
Yes.
And the G5 was just like such a letdown. And, and it shouldn't have been, because actually it added the wide angle camera, which we've all come to love. It added the, an optional hi-fi quad DAC. It had some good ideas there, but it just was so poorly executed. And this is kind of, I've always said that LG kind of has a TikTok approach to years of phones. Tick is the good year, talk is the bad year. And I think this year was, with G6 and V30, was definitely tick. So absolutely. I'm actually kind of not holding my breath for the G7 and the V40 too much next year, because I have a feeling it's going to be hard to beat that, what they did this year.
Exactly.
Sure, they can throw a Snapdragon 845 in there. Sure, they can, have, gradual improvement in every regard. I have a feeling that LG is going to stay relevant for us next year, because I think they're going to be one of the last to include headphone jacks.
Oh, that's
I hate to tell you, but it's true. Like, I as an audiophile, this bugs me to no end, but it's the reality we live in. I will call it now, and if I am wrong, I will eat my words at MWC, but I'm saying it now. The Galaxy S9 will not have a headphone jack. Oh. And we will feel so betrayed by Samsung, all of us. We will be really mad. Oh. But I just don't see them keeping it. When Google, I think Google was a turning point. Yeah. HTC didn't matter. And HTC made a mistake, in my opinion, because they have traditionally had so many good sounding audio centric phones or good audio on general phones that they kind of, they just completely screwed this up. But that's, the rest of the U11 is a great phone. But I think that's something they screwed up, considering their past. Yes. LG, I think, understands that audio, they've been consistently pushing audio on their phones for a few years now. And I think hopefully they'll understand this is the only edge they have left, really, right? And so they'll cultivate it. But I think Samsung's going to pull it on us. They're going to say, you know what? It could go either way at this point, I think. They might keep it. If they keep it, it's just to compete with iPhone. Apple. We just stick it to Apple for another year, Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised, if they want to make an even more full screen phone, that they go, we need to cut something out, and this is going to have to go. And I hate to say that, but, I think this is a reality we live in, and I hate Apple for starting it, and I hate Google for doing a 180 this year. And, after making fun of Apple last year with a Pixel XL, and then this year, look at you suckers, no headphone jack for you. And I don't know if you heard my podcast last week with David, but a shit ton of issues with their adapter, and not just their adapter, any adapter on that phone. Halftime not working, cutting out in the middle of phone calls. I have actually given up, and I'm using an LG headset, an overhead Bluetooth headphone that I got for free at one of the many LG, gift giving sessions with Bluetooth, because I use a headset for my business calls, and it used to always be a wired headset. But I've had a few really frustrating business calls where my Pixel XL, and I tried also other adapters, not just the Pixel XL, but my adapters would conk out in the middle of the call. And then my clients are like, can't you just get the basics right? What I'm saying? It makes you look so unprofessional. Anyway. So
what's your runner up then?
My runner up, it's a tough call. It's kind of like a toss for me. Okay. Between the V30. Okay. And the Galaxy Note 8. Okay. But my winner, let's go there, because it's been 8 minutes. They're all on the edge of their seats by now. My winner is the Pixel 2 XL. Ooh. And you're going to say, Miriam, but why? Well, look, it's the camera, okay? I can live with the issues with the display that have kind of mostly been resolved now, because it's really just a V30 display, and with the proper calibration, it's fine. I can live. I don't know. I can't live with lack of headphone jack. It drives me nuts. But it drives me nuts. The reality is, it is a Google phone. It is the purest, fastest. Yes. I mean, honestly, for the battery size, it's the best battery life on an Android phone for that battery size. Mm-hmm. It is the fastest Android phone, in my opinion. I think it's faster than the iPhone 10. I think it's just the package. It's just the fact that I'm getting the updates. It's just the fact that it's just this delightful, wholly integrated Google experience that I have to say, pushes me over the edge. And the AI, it's not just the camera AI, which I could go on about the camera, but there's anybody who argues that the Pixel 2 XL is the best camera is and disagrees is wrong, because
exactly
on paper it's not the best camera. There's no, like the V30, I think hardware wise is a better camera, and it's very well tuned. But I think Google has just pushed it to the next level with their AI. I take photos of that phone and I just get blown away every freaking time. I'm like, and it keeps getting better because they update the AI parameters over the air. It's crazy. And I can't wait for the Pixel 2 app, camera app, to get extracted by some ingenious hacker out there and put as an APK for us to download to run on other 835 devices. The reality is, it was a tough decision to say the Pixel 2 XL is the best phone of 2017 because I really wanted the V30 to be it. But and then the more I think about it, if I take away the things that I'm excited about, which is imaging and audio, I look at the whole package. The Galaxy Note 8 is super compelling, and the reason I think it's number 2 is because, first of all, it's a more popular phone, right? Secondly, it has a really great camera system. It has a headphone jack that sounds good. It's not as good as a V30, right? But for most people, downgrading in a way for the display, for example, to a V30 from a Note 8 doesn't make sense because they're not audiophiles and they're going to get a good camera experience no matter what. I think the reason to get the V30 is if you want the wide angle lens, or if you're an audiophile, right? Or if you want a slightly smaller phone, that would be my number. Then it'd be my number 2 spot. But for just the display alone, I think the Note 8 is the best display in the industry, and every time I see it, even after coming from my Pixel 2 XL, I'm like, holy crap, it's such an improvement over the V30 and the Pixel 2 XL display. It's unbeatable, right?
That's why they're the market leaders with AMOLED panels, right? iPhone 10, right?
Yeah, of course. And they put that really gorgeous, I actually think the Pixel 2 as a gorgeous display. It's up there, But I can't do a phone with that small with that many bezels. I'm done with bezels. I just want to say it. I've said it before, but I am completely done with phones with bezels. Like any phone that comes to me now that has bezels is going to get docked points for that. Just as any phone that comes to me without a headphone jack is going to get docked points. Just want to make that clear. So that's number 1. What's your runner-up for number 1?
My runner-up is almost like you. I actually went with the Galaxy S8. To me, that kind of started the trend this year with the big screen, full package, great all-around performer. Yes, it was the beginning of the year, but even now, when I look back at what we saw at the beginning of the year and what we have now, it really started a lot of things. And for Samsung, they were coming off of the Note 7, just a few months, in the fall. And the S8 was just, a time for them to actually really make an impression. I would have picked the Note 8, but the Note 8 to me, I don't know. They went
too big.
Caution. No, not even that. To me, comparing it to the Note 7, they were obviously very cautious about releasing this phone. To me, it didn't have quite as a compelling package that the Note 7 had over the Note 5 before. So to me, it was basically, the Galaxy S8 had many of the same qualities. You just had the, of course, bigger screen. You have also the stylus, the S Pen. But to me, just the S8, just I don't know. It's a beautiful phone still, and it works pretty great.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think the S8 and S8 Plus are, probably runners up to the Note 2, right? Note 8. I think the thing about the S8 particularly to me is that if you want a small phone that is packed to the gills with tech, this is the one to get. There is, we can talk about that. Like, this is not a category that's today, but I want to mention honorable mentions of small phones that rock the world. Galaxy S8, probably the best small phone. I hate to say this, but I think the iPhone 10 is a great small phone. And I hate to say this because I think it's not the smallest iPhone, right? Obviously. No. I think the iPhone 8 is very close in performance and smaller. So, but to me, again, the edge-to-edge has to happen.
Screen to body ratio.
Right. So to me, it's a Galaxy S8. Good honorable mention to the iPhone 10 there. But I think the other one that's completely being overlooked that I think feels amazing in hand as has the best form factor is the Essential phone.
Oh, yes. Oh, how can we forget about the Essential phone? Yeah,
Right.
you're absolutely correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stunning design.
So I would say, to summarize so far, because we talked about a few. For me, number one, Pixel 2 XL. Number two, it's a toss between V30 and Note 8. And I think if I had a category that said best big phone, I would say I would give the V30 the spot number two, and then I'd put the Note 8 in best big phone. But since I don't have that category, it's going to be Note 8. Now, and if I don't have the category of best, small phone or best hand design in hand, but that would come to one of those three phones, the S8 regular, the iPhone 10, or the Essential. And I think the Essential would win that category because honestly, if you haven't held an Essential phone, you need to do yourself a favor and do it because it's wow.
It's different. It's different. It's very different from, everything else out there. You look at the design, the aesthetics, even the materials. When I held it, I was like, wow, this phone feels pretty solid. And you saw that, the all screen form factor is just beautiful.
Yeah, and for me, it was one of those phones that I didn't get right away. It took me 2 or 3 months to get it. And, with all the bad press it got, and it was really expensive, and the camera had issues and needed updates and all that. And I was kind of like, yeah, when I get it, it's going to be disappointing. And I was blown away. I got it, and I was like, holy crap, this phone is brilliant, except, of course, for the camera issues and the lack of headphone jack. But the camera was really remedied quickly. They improved it a lot in the time I had it even. And then furthermore, they the Pixel 1 camera APK that you can get on XDA forums or on APK Mirror, I can't remember where, but you can download the Pixel 1 camera and install it on the Essential, and magically it becomes decent.
Better. Yeah.
So that's not the case for all the phones you can install that app with. So I just want you to know the Essential gets saved by that app, and more importantly, it has one of the best headphone USB-C to 3.5 millimeter digital active adapters included in a phone.
Yep.
I use it with my Pixel all the time for music listening, and it's brilliant. Absolutely sounds. I wouldn't say it's not quite in the same league as a V30, but it's close, which is really impressive. Yeah. So, let's recap yours.
For me, it was number one, V30. My runner-up was the S8. And
what's your number two?
The S8. The S8 was my number two.
Okay, so that's your number two.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So now there are two categories that I'm personally interested in, and I want to kind of define on this show, and that's photography and audio, right? And so those you kind of guess what's going to happen here again, right?
It's we pretty much said already.
Well, kind of, yeah. But I want your take on that because it's a tough one. Let's get it out the door. I mean, for me, it comes down again to the top two that I picked: Pixel 2 XL or V30 for camera, and for audio.
I totally agree.
For audio, it's again, it's a little different for audio. I'll talk about that in a second, but I think you can pick either the V30 or Pixel 2 XL and consider them the best camera because. The Pixel 2 XL is definitely the best camera for just pushing the button and getting incredible pictures. But if you don't have manual controls natively, and the third-party software doesn't do it justice, I think. So, if you want to tweak things, especially if like you're into video and you want to connect like a lav mic or because of the awesome headphone jack includes mic input, right? If you want to connect a lav mic, if you want to do manual controls on that video, the V30 wins, and it's so good. If you manually adjust the V30 for photography, you can get indistinguishable results from the Pixel 2 XL, but it does take some tweaking, but that's half the fun too, right? So it's a toss. I think that because I gave the Note 8 number two, and I gave the Pixel 2 XL number one, I'm going to be controversial and say that my favorite camera phone of the year is the V30.
Wow, that's shocking.
Well, because as I said, I'm not the average user, right? Like for me, I don't mind tweaking things. Yeah. So, honorable mentions go to the iPhone 10, of course, the Pixel 2 XL, the S8, S8 Plus, Note 8, the G6. Although the V30 kind of eclipses it, really.
Exactly,
so that's it for me. I mean, I have to pick something, and I got to give the V30 some love somewhere. So it's a toss between the Pixel 2 XL and the V30 for me. I can't decide, and I think I'm just going to pick the V30 because I already picked the Pixel 2 XL. There you go.
Okay, that works.
What about you?
For me, I guess it's going to be the Pixel 2 XL. Obviously, it's the best. When I think of just still shot photography, it's no other phone can match the type of quality it produces. It's amazing. As you said, it's instant, it's quick, and you don't have to worry about anything. You'll take beautiful photos, whether you're an amateur or a professional. It gets the job done. Now, as far as still shot with the V30, I'm not quite as convinced. I know you could tweak it. Yes, you could use the manual controls. That's great. But my runner-up would probably, for still shots, would probably be the iPhone 10. It kind of almost similarly parallels the Pixel 2 XL. And of course, when it comes to video recording, for me, it's going to be the V30. There's no question about that. Honorable mention, I would probably go with the Huawei what is it? The Mate 10 Pro. Yeah, Mate 10 Pro. That's
that would be my runner-up for photography, I think, because I think the XL2 and the V30 to me are kind of like the same level for different reasons. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think as a solid second choice that's good at both auto mode and has all the manual tweaks and has this really great creative camera. And I think that's part of the reason I picked the V30 over the Pixel 2 is because the wide angle camera lets you be so creative. Yeah. And the monochrome sensor on the P10 Pro lets you be so creative. I would say the P10 Pro is my runner-up for best camera phone of 2017. P10
Pro or the Mate 10 Pro?
Sorry, not P10. Mate 10 Pro. Okay, the latest phone from Huawei. Yeah, no, and I don't mean the P10. The P10 is a good phone. Great. P10 Plus is a good phone. Yeah. But that f/1.6 on the Mate 10 Pro, it's kind of like the f/1.6 on the V30. The bokeh, natural bokeh, you almost don't need a portrait mode to take really great portraits, Yep. It's amazing. Like I've done portraits with the V30 where people looked at them and said, "Wait, is that portrait mode?" I'm like, "Nope. That's f/1.6, baby."
Nice. Close up, nice.
Yeah, close up, of course. Yeah, I mean, so your runner-up is the Mate 10 Pro as well.
Yeah, I'd probably put it up there as well, yeah.
Okay. I want to say that the Mate 10 Pro is in my top 3. So, I guess 4 now because the V30 is in my top 3 as well. So, it's one of the best kind of like, that kind of came late in the year. I mean, I've only been using it for really about 2.5 weeks, and I'm blown away with that phone overall. Like, it's just really good. Like, it's good in every way. Lack of headphone jack aside, of course. And you can always get the Mate 10 regular if you want a headphone jack. But then you lose waterproofing, and the phone is a little bulkier. So
although it does have a slightly better screen.
It does have a slightly better screen, but I think for me, 18.9 is the way to go. Like I can't. Yeah. It's just weird to do 16.9 with no bezels. Anyway. So now let's talk about the next category, and that's audio. And I've only basically, there's one more category after this, but what is your favorite audio phone? I mean, that's a no-brainer, right?
The V30, number 1. Number 2 is a tough one, a runner-up, but the V30 for all the obvious reasons, the DAC, headphone jack, obviously, that's pretty convenient for me. And as far as, I guess, a runner-up, I had to really think about this one.
Think about it if you don't know. It's cool.
I'd probably, I don't know why, maybe the G6 in a way too, just because it's almost similar to the V30. Of course, the V30 made all the improvements in that area, and specifically, made for audiophiles. I'm trying to think what else. It's really tough for me to think of best audio phones.
Well, so I'll throw one your way here. My favorite is V30. You knew that was coming because of that built-in headphone jack with the hi-fi quad DAC. It's one thing to have good audio on a headphone jack through a dongle. It's another thing when it's built in. Mm-hmm. My runner-up is the Razer phone, and it's primarily because people are thinking, it's because the speakers are awesome. And yes, the piece of speakers are awesome. Mm-hmm. And I want to give the caveat that cough Razer PR. I still don't have one, but I've played with it enough to make a judgment. Two things that are exciting to me are the speakers, of course, but that's not why I decided that it would be
stereo or
no, it's
dual front.
the dongle that comes in the box.
Gotcha,
it's a 24-bit, super high quality DAC and amp in their provided dongle. Wow. If you need a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter dongle and you want the best one on the market today, it's the Razer phones. So there you go.
Wow. Okay. I did not know. Actually, I have not spent any time with the Razer phone, so I can't say whether or not
you're the same boat as me. My time has mostly been, playing with Joshua Vergara's and other people's. I think Michael Fisher lent me his for a few minutes, and I listened to it and stuff. It was really impressive. It's a big phone, though, so, your mileage may vary. Some people are going to find it unwieldy. If I had another runner-up, if I just look at speakers, I would say the Pixel 2, not the XL, the 2. Okay. It's a little louder than the Pixel 2 XL, a little fuller at higher volumes in particular. And it's a really, really impressive speaker system. But again, it doesn't have a headphone jack, so that kind of balances it out, right? Yeah. Cool. So now let's talk about best bang for the buck phone. And I don't want to say budget because that's not what I'm aiming for here.
Yes.
I don't want to say affordable because that's not necessarily the case.
I could say Alcatel, whatever.
Yeah, I want kind of like your opinion on what is the phone that you feel that gives you the most for the money. So it's not the least, that costs the least and is still good, because that would be the Moto E4, right? Like, honestly, if you're going to want the cheapest best phone of the year, it's the Moto E4 for $80 on Verizon. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing that can touch that phone. But I'm talking about what is the best phone that you feel like no matter how much you spend on it, you're getting the best value.
I guess a lot of people will share the same sentiments. The OnePlus 5T. Yeah. For all the obvious reasons, high-end phone, Snapdragon 835. It has that 18:9 screen aspect ratio, dual cameras in the back. Does it have a headphone jack? I can't remember now. Did it have a headphone jack? The
OnePlus 5T does have a headphone jack. And it sounds decent. It's like the Snapdragon 835 codec, so it's actually pretty solid, but not like, we're not talking V30 here.
Yeah. So you look at all those qualities, all that hardware, and you look at like the S8, the Note 8, even the V30, the Pixel 2 XL, where they're priced, even the iPhone 10, and you look at what OnePlus has done with the 5T, it's definitely most bang for the buck. You're getting a very well-rounded phone, up-to-date hardware, and for pretty much a fraction of the price you're paying for all the top-tiered phones out there. So for me, OnePlus 5T. Okay,
that's my runner-up.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to say that. Look, it's a tough one because I think that for a person like me and like you, of course we'd get the OnePlus 5T because Snapdragon 835, 8 gigs of RAM, blah blah blah, all the goodness. But I think there's an even better value proposition out there.
Oh, now you're making
that's kind of flying under the radar, and it's a different price point altogether. And I would like to cast everyone's eyes towards the Honor 7X.
Oh, okay.
I have used this phone. Yeah, I've used this phone for 2.5 weeks now, and I have to tell you, it blows me away. Every time I use it, I'm like, seriously, this is $200? Are you kidding me?
True, yeah.
And I tell you why it is. When I first got it, I was like, okay, so it's a 6X from last year with a better like an updated processor because it's a new year, and a slightly improved camera system. It's just basically a pretty package, an edge-to-edge 18:9 version of the 6X. Boy, was I wrong! Holy crap! I mean, the 6X was okay. But it quickly lost its luster as the year went by, right? When you saw phones like the Moto G5, G5 Plus particularly, when you saw phones like, a bunch of Motos basically come to mind all of a sudden. But it's just like, it just lost its luster really fast. And maybe the 7X will as well. But what blows me over with 7X is, the display is meh. You have a price points to meet, but it is edge to edge. It is 18:9, and if you can calibrate the display, I think it's a calibration issue. They need to tweak calibration a little bit. The colors are a little washed out, but I think it's by design. I think it's just not It's because they're trying to get as much brightness as they can in daylight. As I've noticed that when you crank it down, it looks much better. So I think that's what it is. But the camera is surprisingly good for its price. It's better than in my opinion, than the OnePlus 5T's camera.
Okay.
And I tell you this because if you haven't played with it enough, I urge you to pull it out and spend a day or two taking photos around New York with it, because you'll be pleasantly surprised. A lot of the software tricks that Huawei has put in the Mate 10 Pro exist on the 7X.
Yeah.
So forget the fact that it's 2 cameras, because the one is 2 megapixels. It's only there for assisting with portraits. It's completely useless. But they have an auto HDR mode. Just so you know, by the way, and I don't know if you heard this on the podcast last week, David and I discussed this, but I talked to a Huawei exec when I was in Hawaii, and about the Mate 10 Pro and the 7X and about the imaging, because I said, I'm really frustrated you don't have an auto HDR mode. And he said, well, we don't have a setting for it, but it's there. If you're in auto mode, it does auto HDR. And I was like, oh, really? And so I put it to the test. Side by side with other phones that clearly have an auto HDR setting. And yep, sure enough, it has an auto HDR setting that actually works really well. And I found a lot of, that's when I compared the Mate 10 Pro and the 7X, a lot side by side. And I found that in terms of imaging result, there were a lot of similarities. In low light, of course, it does fall apart a little, but not like as bad as the OnePlus 5T does, okay? So to me, that's why I'm giving it high marks. It has a headphone jack. It has a mid-range processor, but it actually is, it feels fast every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like the Snapdragon 600 series, right? Like, they're perfectly adequate for everyday use. It's only when you start to do gaming that you start noticing some kind of like wah, 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 sad trombone. But that's what surprises me. And then on top of that, it's $199 and it's an all metal and glass phone.
Nice, $200.
Yeah. $199.
And has a headphone jack.
And has a headphone jack. So the negatives for me are, and I'll be really, really upfront with that, and I already told Huawei, is no NFC. Are you freaking kidding me? Like,
oh, wow, no NFC?
Yeah, well, none of the,
like
the 5X and the 6X didn't have NFC, because they want to save a little money, and they feel that in that segment nobody cares about Android Pay. So they have a fingerprint reader in the back, which is awesome, and it's fast. It's the same standard issue Huawei Honor super fast fingerprint reader, but $200.
Yeah, that's even a fraction of the OnePlus 5T.
Yeah, so that if you want NFC, I'd say OnePlus 5T. That's what's my runner-up. Look, I love OnePlus, okay? But they screwed up that camera, and they screwed up the camera on the 5, and they screwed up the camera on the 3T and on the 3, and it's like, they really got to get it together. Like, and the thing that I think it is, and it's the thing that bothers me, is they don't have the in-house expertise. I totally get that. Nobody does. I mean, think LG, Apple, Samsung, even HTC, they've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
It's going to take time before OnePlus acquires that expertise. I get it. But here's the thing. They're partners with Qualcomm. Qualcomm has incredible imaging expertise and is willing to fine-tune their camera for them. But I think it's an extra cost, and they're not willing to pay for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's probably one of the, the sore points about the handset. Like, everything about it's great, but except when you look at the camera. Even, they tout the portrait mode.
But it's the fourth phone in a row where we're saying that.
Yeah.
And my point is, the fourth phone in a row where Qualcomm was willing to offer them some pretty awesome expertise in fine-tuning the camera for them. So, it's like, come on.
I guess they want to keep the money. I don't know.
Spend the extra money, guys. It's worth it. Like, you'd get better reviews. And here's the other thing is, I thought, like with the Essential phone, I was like, okay, I'm just going to install the Pixel 1 camera app on the OnePlus 5 and OnePlus 5T and call it a day. Unfortunately, I get mixed results. Sometimes the photos are better than what comes out of the stock camera, and sometimes the stock camera surprises me.
Wow.
So I don't know. I think that they are. I've also noticed that with software updates, originally the second cam was really only there for ultra low light, right?
Yep.
And for portrait mode. But I've noticed that as they're tweaking it, they are now using the secondary camera for dynamic range stuff as well. I'm getting better HDR results with the stock camera on the OnePlus 5 in normal light than I am with the Pixel 1 camera. And as you know, the Pixel 1 camera does awesome. HDR really, really well. Yeah. So I think there is some computational thing going on there. But okay, so that's my big budget pick 7X Honor. My next, runner up is OnePlus 5T. If I said we said it in passing, but I think the Moto E4 at $80.
That's killer.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it's not good enough for me to live with day to day, but wow, okay. I mean, it's actually almost good enough. Like if I was, almost had zero money and I couldn't really afford to, eat every day and I needed a phone. I'm joking, but it's a predicament a lot of Americans are in this current economy. I would buy the Moto E4 and live with it and be perfectly happy. I wouldn't feel like I'm really slumming it down in the $10 LG Walmart special,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Although, there is room for a $10 phone, don't get me wrong. I mean, being able to go to a public library with a $10 phone that you don't have self-service on, go to their Wi-Fi and still have a full web browser on Android, Chrome, to access the internet. Come on, for $10?
$10
that is revolutionary. That is power to the people. That is information in your hand. And I applaud that, but it's gonna be slow and painful. Whereas with the E4, you'll be perfectly fine using Chrome on Wi-Fi. So there you go.
Nice.
All right. Whew. Okay, so let's recap. My number one is the Pixel 2 XL. Runner-up is the Note 8. My best camera phone is the V30 Pixel 2 XL Ti. Runner-up. What did I decide for the run? Did I even pick a runner-up for camera?
Best camera?
I can't remember now.
The Mate 10 Pro?
The Mate 10 Pro, thank you. Yeah. Then audio was V30 with a Razer phone as a runner-up. And then we had the most, the best bang for your buck phone was the Honor 7X, and runner-up was the OnePlus 5T. What? Do you want to recap yours real quick?
Best overall phone for me was the V30. Runner-up was the Pixel. Runner-up was the S8. I'm getting it mixed up here.
That's
Camera,
right.
Pixel 2 XL, bar none. Runner-up, iPhone 10? iPhone 10, yeah. Best audio, V30, that's obvious. Secondary runner-up is what I choose at. I think I said, or maybe I didn't pick one. And best phone for the money, OnePlus 5T, followed by the, what was my runner-up?
I don't think you picked one.
I didn't pick one? OnePlus 5T, and maybe I didn't.
Just pick one now.
I guess I'd say the Essential in a way.
Yeah, the Essential is good bang for your buck. I actually agree with that.
Especially now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but that's the thing, it's artificial, right? Like that's the thing that bugs me is that that phone is worth way more than $400.
Yeah.
So when everybody says, well, go buy an Essential because it's only $400, I say, of course you do, because it's a great phone for the money, but that's completely created on purpose. Like they are losing money on these. And it's just because they have really big investors they probably are working on Gen 2 that they're able to do this because they don't want to lose face, And I don't blame them. It's a good strategy. I'm just saying, like, let's not kid ourselves that the Essential should not be $400. It's not. It's made of titanium and ceramic, guys.
Yeah,
okay.
Feels, yeah.
So honorable mentions for the year. HTC we haven't talked much about. Yeah. I like the U11 a lot. Oh. If I could get my hands on the U11 Plus, I think I'd be on board. That almost became the Pixel 2 XL. But the thing that vexes me the most, and you can read my U11 review on Chip Chick, right? The U11 is a phenomenal phone in every regards, but it missed the boat on the ultra-wide bezel-less craze, which at the time was kind of critical, and it finally remedied that with the U11 Plus. But the camera is phenomenal. It's really good. It's up there with the best, but it's not quite obviously as good. The Pixel 2 XL just blew everybody out of the water there. And then the other thing about the U11 that really, really pisses me off is the lack of headphone jack, and especially coming from HTC. They have such a small market share nowadays that, this whole we're entrenching ourselves in U-Sonic is really BS. And you could have done that and still have a headphone jack. You could have still shipped U-Sonic headphones with USB-C plug in the box and still had a freaking headphone jack. Nothing stopped that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the dongle that's included for adapting USB-C to 3.5 millimeter that comes with the U11 is the worst sounding dongle of all of the ones I've tried. It's bad. It's like I cannot listen to it bad. So when I listen to my U11, I use the Essential dongle or the Pixel 2 dongle. The Pixel 2 dongle is very average. And by that, I mean, for me, average meaning for most people being going to be perfectly awesome. The Essential is a good one. It's on the better side of things. Like if I gave the V30 100% in output, you know, I would give the Essential like an 85, and I'd give the Pixel 2 dongle, I don't know, an 80 and a 75, and I'd give like the HTC U11 dongle like a 45.
Oh.
Yeah, it's that bad. It's bad. It is a bad scene. So yeah, just be aware of that.
So what are your thoughts on like speaking of you, because we were talking about HTC, like to me, I didn't get a whole lot of chance to actually check out their phones, and obviously they're, like you said, they're a small player nowadays, which is, you know, unfortunate coming from where they've been. But the other, I guess, standout player for me this year was BlackBerry, Alcatel.
Oh my God. I'm glad you brought it up because it's been a while now, but I think the Key 1 was a phenomenal phone. I love the Key 1. Yeah. TCL. Yeah.
Exactly.
And we have our good friend Brad Mullen working at PR TCL nowadays.
Oh, nice.
This is exciting. You know, I used to work with Brad at Engadget. He was kind of like my right-hand man for many years. And it's good to see him landing such a cool gig. So, of course, it also means I'm going to get all the TCL phones all the time. No, I'm joking.
You heard that, Brad?
Brad, no pressure. I don't want you to feel pressure. But yeah, no, you're right. The Key 1. Have you played with the one without the keyboard? Like they came out with another one recently.
Yeah, was it the Motion? BlackBerry Motion?
BlackBerry Motion, correct.
Yeah. That's just the all screen form factor. No, I haven't. You know, I actually didn't spend too much time either with the Key 1, but based on everyone's feedback, it's like one of those underrated phones too.
It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's a mid-ranger, but it's a solid mid-ranger. It's like, you know, they really focus on the things BlackBerry users really want. The keyboard is very interesting and different. And well done, most importantly. The camera is okay. It's decent. It's fine. It holds its own. Headphone jack, of course. It does have a decent display for its size, a little on the small side. But the best is the performance. Snapdragon 635, 25, sorry. And it has a really good battery life because it's got a massive battery, which, you know, BlackBerry users, again, value that. And so, you know, for people like us who are kind of marathoners and using our phones, And it's been, you know, especially if you like hardware keyboards, it's been a great phone to have around. For me, the phone that missed the mark the most this year, you know, I would have said Essential, but they redeemed themselves by improving the camera, lowering the price, and more importantly, because the Pixel 1 camera kind of saves the day, I can't say that anymore. And I love the design. It turns out finally when I got one, I was like, okay, wow, this phone, wow. But it's the Moto Z2 Force.
Wow, I was reading your mind. I was going to say it has to be Moto.
Yeah, and I mean it's funny, right? Because I've just sung the praises of the E4. I've just sung the praises of the G5 Plus. Yeah. Honestly, one of my favorite mid-range phones in terms of like feels like a freaking rockstar premium phone was the X4.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know the Moto X4 with Android One. So it's not Moto, right, guys? It's the Z2 Play, phenomenal. I love the Play.
Oh yeah, the Z2 Play. Yeah,
the Z2 Play is great.
Yep.
But oh my God, the Z2 Force, what a letdown! That camera, and the lack of headphone jack, and the plastic screen that scratches when you just looking at it.
18 by 9, not even 18 by 9.
Not 18 by 9.
Yep.
And you know how people are like, well, they can't do 18 by 9. Where would they put the fingerprint reader with the Moto mods? I'm like, come on. Have you looked at a Razer phone? Have you looked at a Nextbit phone? Have you looked at, what's the latest phone that I have? The Axon M. Have you looked at the Sony phones? They all have fingerprint readers on the power button on the side of the phone. You can do it.
Yeah.
There's no excuse.
That's true.
And I'm hoping that this year with the, rumors that we're going to see a phone at CES, probably from Vivo, with a fingerprint reader embedded in the screen for the first time. We're going to see potentially a Moto phone with a fingerprint reader embedded in the screen that is Moto Mod compatible and has 18 by 9 aspect ratio.
Oh.
But I'm completely guessing, right?
Well, we can always hope.
Yeah. So, I mean, back to the Z2 Force, though. I mean, yeah, sure, the screen is shatterproof. It's awesome. But because of the shatterproofness, it's thicker.
It's subdued. It just doesn't look
as subdued,
vibrant.
And it scratches, as I said, it scratches just looking at it. Like mine has so many scratches, and I'm careful. It's just being in my pockets. It's insane how fast it scratches. And, sure, put a, D-brand screen thing on it, whatever. Shout out to D-brand. But I mean, I don't think that helps. Like, I think that makes it worse. And then, the camera underperforms. The only thing you're basically benefiting from picking the Z2 Force over the Z2 Play is the Snapdragon 835. And frankly, you're going to be let down so much by the rest that you're just not going to be happy. So I say buy the Z2 Play if you really want a moto mod phone. Battery life is better, headphone jack. The camera is actually decent. It's f1.7. It's pretty much the same camera module that's in the G5 Plus.
Water resistant too?
What's that?
Was it water resistant as well?
No, none of the moto mod phones are water resistant. And that's another thing that I hope they can address somehow. The X4 was water resistant. I don't think the G5 Plus is water resistant. Trying to think. Oh my God. All these specs in my head. computing, accessing, database, please hold. I don't know. I can't remember. It's crazy, man. Like, that's the thing about our jobs is like, I still remember specs from some Nokia phones from 2005. It's like ridiculous. I'm like that. That's why people love it. But yeah, I mean, what are your like, hits and misses? We've talked about the hits obviously, but any things that stands out for you that you feel like, don't remind me of that. I mean, obviously the Moto Z2 Force.
Yeah, the Moto Z2
anything
Force.
Else?
Try and think here. I want to kind of say the Note 8, but obviously it's not. It's a great phone, but to me, it was kind of it was underwhelming. And I get why it's the way it is, especially after the last year.
To me, I agree that it's underwhelming, but I also feel that it's the most tech packed in a phone ever.
Yes.
So that's kind of why it's like, okay, yeah. I don't think I'd rock it as my daily. It's too big.
No, yeah. I'm trying to think what else. You mentioned the ZTE Axon M. That was an interesting phone. And
that
I don't know. To me, that was just overpriced, almost novel in a way as well. If they really fine-tune the experience more for multitasking, I think it would have been slightly better. But when you combine the fact that it was priced just as much as, let's say, like a S8 and has a Snapdragon 825 processor.
821, the old one, yeah.
So it's like, it's killing me to pay that same amount. Yeah, I mean,
it's not worth the money, but I think it's still an interesting exercise in design.
Yes.
And again, if Samsung did it, I think it would be better because they would make the software actually work. It would probably still take them 2 generations. So you got to give kudos to Axon, to ZTE for just making one phone. And it needs a 2nd gen version, but you kind of expect that from them, right?
Yeah.
I'm not convinced Samsung would have done much better. They've done better, but I don't think they would have done much better if they've done something that form factor. So it's very interesting. I think the biggest confusing miss for me on that phone is that the front is, you have to hold it like a book written in Arabic to get the front of the phone. But the back cover is the front of the phone, basically. Yeah. So that's a bit weird.
I just wish that when you held it, and regardless of what orientation, which hand, it should automatically just know, right?
Yeah, because it knows gravity. Like the accelerometer knows gravity. Yeah. I get it. I agree with you. That's weird. There's all kinds of weird design decisions in there. But hey, I think it's novel. It's interesting, and it entertained me for a while. That's kind of at least. But the Z2 Force didn't entertain me. I just wanted to throw it against the wall every day, and I knew that if I did, it wouldn't break. So I was even more frustrated. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you don't like a phone, you want to throw it against something and break it. You're like, it's going to break, but that thing is not going to break. So, it's like, the best way I can get rid of it is to just return it, right?
Yeah, there you go. That's always the option.
I can't take a hammer to it because I'm not going to help. I'm just joking. No, it's been a really disappointing phone. And I have to say, it does get better if you use the Pixel 1 camera. Okay, it does. This is one of those like the essential where the Pixel 1 camera actually helps. But man, what a frustrating phone. And especially for the money. And it's just like, it really feels like they didn't put any effort into that phone. They put so much effort into the Moto G5 series and into the X4. You can tell they really did a good job there, or the E4 even. And yet, then, at the top of the line, they're like, oh, whatever. Let's just add a second camera to this thing and whatever. And then, the other thing is they merged the Force with the regular phone, right? The Z and the Z Force merged together.
Yep, no more.
So the battery life took a hit. Oh, God. Cool. I could go on.
Yeah.
Other phones that, I don't want to put them in the same category as the Z2 Force, but I'm just saying, like, I was a little underwhelmed when I finally got them, was the Mi Mix 2.
Xiaomi, okay.
With a caveat, look, the phone is gorgeous. It's beautiful as hell. It's amazing. Like, the ceramic back is the one I have, and it's just, wow, like rock star. But it's still big, and it has more bezels than last year's Mi Mix. And then there's the software experience, which is just a mess. Like, it's the Xiaomi skin, and it's just like, oh no. It just doesn't make you want to use it. You remember how Huawei used to be before they reformed themselves?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. And so you're kind of like, nope, hashtag nope. I'm running away like a crab sideways. Nope. But otherwise, the hardware is just brilliant, And it's just hard to say that because it's just, oh man, I wanted to love that phone so much. I got it at the same time as the Essential. Like, they arrived the same week as review units.
Oh, definitely Essential.
And honestly, the Essential just totally stole the show. I was like, really? You're the edge-to-edge phone I want, not the Mi Mix 2. No. I thought I was going to love the Mi Mix 2 so much.
Yeah.
But okay. I mean, the Essential has a pure Android experience. I think that just speaks to me, Yeah. So, hey, any news that you saw this week? I mean, nothing's happening. Everybody's just getting ready for CS. I didn't get a chance to scan my feeds to see if there was any mobile news out there. The biggest news was, I kind of mentioned it on the podcast last week, very briefly with David, was last week T-Mobile announced that they're going to become a launch a video service, and by that we mean, like, compete with, I guess, the cable companies in some way.
They have, yeah.
And that's exciting to me because if they can disrupt that industry, I'm on board. I don't, right now I just pay for Netflix and like maybe a couple of other subscriptions a month, and I watch everything, either on my computer or an Apple TV on a projector. And, having, sometimes there's some stuff I want to see, or my spouse wants to see that, it's live or whatever, and you can't find it anywhere. You have to wait, or you have to, I'm not subscribed to this service, so let's torrent it, blah, blah, blah. It's just a pain. So I'd rather be able to pay for something, but I just don't want to give them the kind of money. Like my internet in San Francisco is, obviously cable. My internet here, I'm in Portland today, is fiber, and I'm not paying for any of the TV stuff, right? Like, I'm just pure internet on both, and I'm not about to because I find it's a racket. Like, I don't watch TV enough. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a TV person. So if T-Mobile can give me a service that costs me like maybe $30 a month for like basic stuff, and it works over IP, right, where I can use it anywhere. I'm in. I think the use it anywhere is going to be tricky because
did you mention price at all for the service?
No. It's just related to an acquisition they made of this other company earlier that week, and I can't even remember what the other company is called. I know that the other company makes cool looking cable boxes. That's all I remember.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll see. Hopefully, John Ledger can revolutionize mobile like he did with TV like he did with mobile. We'll see. But that's the only news I can think of this week. Anything that stands out for you? Any phones that you're playing with right now that you're excited about?
You know what? As far as daily drivers go, I usually stick with the V30 and the iPhone 10. Earlier in the year was the iPhone SE, surprisingly, and the S8. But besides that, I've been mostly doing a lot of headphone stuff, and I don't know why I've been big with VR of lately. Especially that new Star Wars one that Lenovo has. It's pretty fun.
Oh, yeah. That's really cool. I heard about this. I haven't tried it, though. That came out of IFA, right?
Yeah. They announced it at IFA. I think it was just released like a month ago in anticipation for the movie, of course. And surprisingly, for what it does, it's pretty responsive. It does give you like that Jedi battle experience. But I think there are some other elements to it that I really like there's like this strategy game, but for $200, like to me, if you're a hardcore Star Wars
It's
fan,
only $200?
$200. Yeah, you get the lightsaber, which some people already say that's a collector's item. The lightsaber by itself is a collector's item.
No
you get the
shit.
headset, and you get the orb, $200 to me to have this AR experience.
A full-on AR headset, right? Like
Yeah.
it's self-contained. Like you don't have to plug your phone or PC or anything, right?
Okay, well, yes, you do have to plug in your phone. Your phone goes in there because there's a mirror that kind of angles the.
I see. So that explains why they see. I thought it was a standalone device, and I was like, I couldn't figure out how it worked. I was like, wait a minute, is this $200? That's really cheap. I thought it was like $500 and it was a standalone thing.
Well, it'll pretty much work with most phones, iPhone, pretty much most of the Android phones. So you're good with that. But yeah, to me, it's a pretty fun toy.
Very cool. Well, I should check it out. I'm going to ping Lenovo, see if I can get a review in it. What else is on your radar? Any phones you're looking forward to?
I guess whatever's going to be announced. CES, not really.
Do you think we're going to get anything at CES? Let's talk about that.
Nothing great. Obviously, it's probably going to be mostly mid-rangers, but I'm not expecting a whole lot because CES, it's not really.
Yeah, it was a phone show. It never really was a phone show, but there was a few years back when we got some announcement like the
Verizon stuff.
One of the first Xperia phones that was any good for its time was announced. I think at CES 2011 or 12. I was there and I was like, whoa, Sony's pulling out the big guns at CES on a phone. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't LTE phones.
We're not going to get much, no, for sure. Yeah. Maybe that Vivo phone with a built-in fingerprint reader. That's the rumors anyway. Below the glass fingerprint. Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't go to CS for the phones. I go to CS because I think there's always some cool stuff and kind of see the trends for the year. And more importantly, for me, it's an opportunity to, help some clients and do some biz dev. But mostly for the podcast, it's kind of like trends and, I might pick up some cool random, like weird Chinese phone I've never seen before and do a hands-on or something, just cause. But yeah, it's interesting how CS is changed over the years, Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, it's not for the worse, it's just evolving and, a lot more startup, a lot more foreign companies that are small companies, like this whole Eureka Park, Sands Expo thing is like a second show within the show,
Exactly, yeah.
And I end up spending more time there, honestly, than the main show floor because, once you've seen the Samsung and LG booth, you're kind of done, like the car booths are cool too in the North Hall. If you're a car person like me, there's some cool stuff there, some concept cars, some weird electric autonomous, sci-fi, we're gonna, Judge Dredd cars. I still kind of love the fact that there is this kind of like weird futuristic car movement in the concept car design world out there, that kind of like pie in the sky. Mm-hmm. It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy because, when I was a kid, I would read like Popular Mechanics and like all these things that they promised me. A lot of them didn't happen. I'm disappointed. But at the same time, I think as a child, having hope and having dreams is what propels you forward. And as an adult, I think too. But I think as a child, it's like for me, it was anything was possible. Yeah. When I'd read Popular Mechanics, and I'm old, I'm dating myself because this is in the 70s. Because I'm 40, in my 40, I'm 48, right? So it's like, I would look at this going, oh my God, flying cars, and of course we don't have that yet. But we have drones, right? And drones have revolutionized the way we do things. And, we have the internet and we have, ATMs and we have, you've probably had ATMs your whole life, but they didn't exist when I was a kid. We have all kinds of things, our phones are miracles of technology. People just take them for granted. It's amazing to me how people take that stuff for granted. Cars are more than 100 years old and I still don't take them for granted. I think cars are magnificent pieces of technology. It's amazing that you can buy a car and put so little maintenance into it and drive it for so long today and have something reliable that will take you everywhere you need to go. Cars didn't used to be that reliable. Yeah. They used to break down a lot. And, today you can't buy a really bad car. I don't think that's possible. And same with phones, it's hard to buy a bad phone. Yeah, you can go on Amazon and buy like those weird unlock section. Amazon is a bit weird and crazy, and I would stay away. But if you stick with the big brands right now, as I said, Moto E4 for $80, and you still get a pretty decent experience. It's kind of like buying a Toyota Yaris, It's not the best car, but it'll take you from point A to point B reliably for a long time, and you won't feel too frustrated. And that's what I'm talking about. I think this is kind of the revolution that we're experiencing, and it's a great world to live in. Are you into wearables at all? I mean, obviously headphones, but do you pack anything on your wrist?
I do. Like right now, I have a Gear Sport.
Oh yeah, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I love the original the Gear S2, not the first Gear, because that was the curved display one. Gear S2 was good. I like the design, but you know what? When I look at all the smart watches out there, and I think about who has the best functionality, unfortunately, like Android Wear, the Tizen, it pales in comparison to what Apple's doing with the Apple Watch.
For sure.
You have dedicated apps. You don't have just simple notifications. So, I don't know. I kind of got tired with the approach with Android Wear, and even here with Samsung. I just want to see a little bit more focus, a little bit more innovation, because right now, purely function, like the Apple Watch is up there.
Yeah, my biggest beef with the Apple Watch is it doesn't really play well with Android phones.
Oh, yeah,
and more importantly, the display is off by default. That I cannot deal with that. A watch to me has to show the time all the time. I need to be able to glance at it when it's sitting on my desk from a distance and read the time. And I accept no substitutes. That's why I love Android Wear, and that's why I love the current Gear line of watches, not fitness trackers. I think is like the S3 Classic is my favorite right now. I think it's the closest to what a true smartwatch should be. It's crazy for me to say that because the original Gear watch was a disaster. And at the time I worked at Pebble, and we were like shaking our heads going, are you freaking kidding me? But look, they've iterated, they've persisted, and they've gotten to a point where I think the Gear S3 is Classic particularly is probably the best smartwatch on the market today. I wear a Huawei Watch 2 primarily because my Watch 1 has burn-in big time. I think the Watch 1 was my favorite Android Wear watch of all time. But as I said, 2.5 years of wearing it, it has completely permanent burn-in in all of the spots where the numbers were displayed. And I guess that's what Apple doesn't turn on their watch all the time. But at the same time, to me, that's what a watch should do. And I think until they can fix the burn-in issues, this Watch 2 is probably going to have burn-in in a little while too. But again, these are review units. I don't like the Watch 2 very much. I think it's ugly. I think it's too sporty looking. I liked how classic the Watch 1 looked. I liked that it had a bigger screen than the Watch 2 and less bezel. But I put a leather band actually from a Moto 360 on my Watch 2, and nice. It actually looks more like less sporty and more like understated. You can wear it every day. So I'm sticking with that for now, but it's mostly for notifications. That's what really got me going with smartwatches. That's kind of the reason I got so excited and worked at Pebble for a while, because it's to me like, it's not the time on my wrist so much. It's more like, hey, I want to be able to filter some of the most important things and send them to my wrist, so I don't have to pull out my phone all the time. Yeah. I can glance at something at dinner without worrying that I'm missing out something that's super important. So yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much wear the Gear Sport here mainly for mobile payments, which is kind of crazy. Samsung Pay for me is like a no-brainer thing. But yeah, for me, whenever I go pay something, I try to use my smartwatch.
Interesting, because I found that of course the Watch 1 didn't have NFC, but the Watch 2 does, the Huawei, and so I tried to set it up and use it for Android Pay, which I use a lot on my phones. Almost all my phones that can do Android Pay have it enabled. But I find that it's very cumbersome on Android Wear to use. It's not Android like Wear. Apple made it really easy. Using your Android phone with Android Pay is really easy, but I find that the watch, you need to, there's a lock code and you have to unlock it, and it's just completely useless. I just want to tap the watch, guys, just detect that it's on my wrist, so you don't it only asks you the password once, like when you when you first put it on. But if you don't put it on tight enough, then it thinks that you took the watch off, and you need to enter the password again. And it's usually right when you're about to pay that you realize, oh, my watch was loose, and it wants me to enter the password, and now I'm like looking like an idiot at the grocery line. It's just poorly designed. I think Apple obviously is doing a better job, but I think there's got to be a better way in general for this kind of thing. I don't know what that would be. Maybe proximity with your phone. Maybe better wear detection for sure. I don't know. There's something. I just. Maybe a fingerprint reader under the screen.
Oh, there we go.
Like you just touch the watch, your finger on the watch, and then you tap it on the two quick actions, in a row.
Yeah.
If that's going to be such an issue, maybe let's do it that way. I don't know. I really don't know. How about Face ID on your watch? You know that Apple's going to do that, right?
Probably throw in a front-facing camera.
Yeah, and they'll know that
they'll do FaceTime right there.
That's how they know that you're looking at your watch. Like exactly. Right now they do. It's mostly by gesture that they know that you're raising your arm, right? Mm-hmm. I think they're going to do it with Face ID soon. Actually, I'm really looking forward to seeing Face ID on the Mac. I'm a big Mac user. I'm not a big fan of iOS, although I have a bunch of iPhones. But I mostly because I kind of have to have iPhones as a tech journalist reviewing phones, but. iOS just doesn't do it for me. So I am looking, but Macs do, and I'm looking forward to Macs with Face ID authentication. I think it's going to be really cool. I think Face ID is probably one of the most impressive technologies this year. I think it's very reliable. I think it's very well implemented. It's only going to get better in second gen. And, just like Touch ID, the first gen was okay, but not super awesome. And the second gen, and onward, we haven't even thought about it anymore. And I think it's going to become something we don't think about. And I really honestly think that we're going to see a phone in 2018 from an Android phone with a similar technology. I think it's going to come from Huawei first.
Oh,
that's my bet. Because maybe Samsung as well, because Samsung, what they did with the iris scanner and the face detect it's crap. It doesn't work for me at all. I can never use it. Face, I don't feel is secure enough. Mm-hmm. I think Face, the way OnePlus did it, is pretty good. It's more secure than what Samsung's doing, and definitely more secure than what Android's doing by default. That Android has face detection on all the phones, really. It's part of the OS. But it's very, very poor, like in terms of security. Yeah. So, I could never get the Retina scanner thing to work for me on any of the Galaxies this year. So, because I wear glasses, I don't know why. It's just slow. It's just unreliable. And if it's not reliable, you're not going to use it. You just get frustrated. So, I'm looking forward to Samsung or Huawei, and I think Huawei will be first, and it probably won't be in the US, to come up with a phone that replicates what Apple has given us with Face ID. It might not use the same technology to do it, but it's going to be just as accurate, just as fast, just as good.
Nice.
Because that's the future. I really honestly think so. You have an iPhone 10, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, just...
being able to be on a website and authenticate by just looking at it, like, wow. All right? Once you've done that once, you're like, yeah, give me more, baby. Yeah, totally.
It's like the smart home. Now I don't need to stand up or turn on a switch. I just say hey, Google, and then
exactly, and it does magic. I know, it's awesome. Yeah. So hey, we should wrap it up. I wanted you to plug yourself. Tell people where they can find you, like on the internet, Twitter, whatever your favorite place is. If you have your own YouTube channel or something as well, and let them know where they can go find your stories as well.
Yeah, obviously, right for Phone Arena, you could check the site there for all my articles, my reviews. I'm on Twitter, pretty much Twitter, Instagram, Google Plus even. It's at John_C_Velasco for both Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, you could just, Google me, and I'm pretty sure you'll find me.
Yeah, I think that, just don't get the first name wrong, because otherwise you'll get that guy from Engadget.
Yeah, you'll get my cousin.
Hey, Chris. Anyway, we're all good friends. Yeah, you know where to find me. I'm at Tankgirl on Twitter, TNKGRL, like the comic book character without the vowels. On YouTube, it's youtube.com/Miriam Jouar, my full name spelt out, and Miriam with a Y. In case you don't remember that, just go visit mobiletechpodcast.com. That's mobiletechpodcast.com, so you can subscribe to this podcast and you can see my full name spelled out, so you can actually go to my YouTube channel. And I'm on Facebook, on G+, on Instagram. Go find me. Google me. There's a Wikipedia page about me, apparently. It's kind of weird. But, hey, stay tuned. We'll have one. I think we're going to have one next week. I'm going to really try to have a podcast next week. So stay tuned for that. And John, a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for coming.
I just want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that I'm doing this podcast with you. I really don't do podcasts that often. But, when I first started in the industry, this is back in like 2008, 2007, I had a 1 hour commute to work. So in that 1 hour period, you know what I would do? I would listen to you and Chris Ziegler on the Gadget Mobile podcast. And for, I believe, like a whole year, I just listened to you guys. And that, to me, it just blows my mind. We're here at 2017. This is 2008. And I remember just driving to work and just listening to you guys. So it's been a pleasure. You've been great. And just, it's just crazy.
Thanks. I feel very flattered. I appreciate it. Look, I think, I like people to be on my podcast. I always generally pick other journalists because they have a lot to add to the conversation, So I'm really glad that you could be on the podcast, and I'm honored that you listened to us back in the day. That's really great. Thanks so much, John.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, folks. Stay tuned till next week. We'll be back with more. Remember to subscribe to the podcast and to my YouTube channel and all that good stuff. Laters. Cheers.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.